All right, Khayelihle Khumalo joins us now in studio. Kaya, thank you so much for coming through. So this talk about this evidence, the CCTV evidence, how crucial is it to this particular case, which is now at trial stage?
Well, absolutely, Thulasizwe. It's very crucial. From what we have heard from the states, for example, is that this is where Karabo Mokoena was last seen. It's a CCTV footage obtained from the apartment of Sandile Mantsoe. So that's where she was last spotted. And from also what you've heard from the state is that she wasn't seen leaving this particular place at all. And also, more importantly, this is where Sandile Mantsoe was seen carrying a huge dustbin. And obviously, there hasn't been a convincing reasoning as to why was he carrying this huge dustbin. And also, he was seen walking out of his apartment, carrying it, seemingly struggling to move with this massive dustbin.
And is the defense opposed to this evidence?
Well, the prosecutor said the defense is not opposed to this particular evidence, but then of course the judge wanted experts to really come and explain the chain of events as opposed to having one particular video. The judge said it might have been tempered, or some people might have tried to do something that might be abnormal. So hence then there was a postponement to allow the states to go and get the expert to really just source and like originally where it came from.
Right, so that was today, but what came out of the trial in the last few days, yesterday for instance? What did we hear? Are we gleaning any kind of picture in as far as the state's case that, you know, what is going to be the thrust of the case that they present against Sandile Mantsoe?
Well, Thulasizwe, there is an issue of the admission. So the court ruled on the fact that, for example, Sandile Mantsoe told one of the officers that he actually killed Karabo. But when it came to the issue of writing down a confession statement, he was not keen to do that. So the state is very much leaning on that. But then obviously the defense is trying to say, so if it was a confession, why did the officer not write it down? But then obviously the officer is saying, look, he did not have a proper document to write it down. So it's a very technicality that they are playing around here.
And the accused himself, how is he looking in the dock?
Well, the issue here, Thulasizwe, is that the accused seems a bit overzealous, and there was a point where he took the stand himself. He came across as slightly arrogant and just going as far as saying he lives in Sandton in a very lavish place and no one can easily afford to leave. And he also went as far as accusing one of the police officers of soliciting a bribe. So he was disputing the whole admission, saying he never told anyone that he actually killed Karabo, but one of the police officers, Police Officer Mhlongo, tried to solicit a bribe as he was taken to the cells.
And also, Kaya, you know, one of the difficulties with cases such as this one is that there's sometimes scrutiny that goes towards the victim herself. Has that happened in this case in the last few days?
Well, Thulasizwe, it has certainly come, and obviously there has been a very heavy scrutiny. For example, yesterday, a lot of very startling revelations came out. So, for example, the accused was saying the late Karabo Mokoena was so addicted in a very high life, and also at some point she dated a Nigerian national, and one of the friends of the ex-boyfriend kicked her in the stomach. So there was an argument where she was kicked in the stomach. She had a miscarriage, and also making all sorts of allegations, very bold allegations at that. For example, saying the late Karabo Mokoena might have committed suicide simply because her father was very abusive. But the sister of the deceased took a stand on Tuesday. She disputed those allegations. She said Mr. Mokoena is a very loving person, a very supportive father. Hence, at times, Karabo Mokoena, during the course of this relationship, she wasn't able to go home because when she was battered and bruised, she wouldn't just go home because she was very petrified and scared of her father, that the father may see some of, the bruises and the wounds from her side.
So finally then, what happens next? Do we wait for these experts that will be called in relation to the CCTV footage, or does the trial continue with other witnesses before then?
Well, absolutely, Thulasizwe. So we'll have the experts experts taking the stand on Tuesday, really elucidating and explaining before the court as to how did they source the CCTV footage and really just the originality. But also, interestingly enough, I got an opportunity to speak both to the prosecutors and the defense. So for them now, they're saying it's more of like a seesaw. So the other case, the other hand at one point will gain an upper hand, and then the following day, they just take a bit of a nosedive, and likewise with the other side. So for now, it's really hard to gauge as to who is really having an overwhelming, argument in terms of making sure that, the judge is able to find a very reasonable ground in terms of the ruling.
Thank you so much, Khayelihle Khumalo, for coming through with that update on that trial that is ongoing. That is eNCA'S Khayelihle Khumalo.